Herb. Herb is a plant. I mean, herbs are good for everything. Herb.
Welcome to Cannabis TV, Eugene Cannabis TV. Please make sure if you ever go to YouTube that you do Eugene Cannabis TV so we make sure that you're able to get our show. We're located here behind Sheldon High School in Eugene, Oregon, and we're very fortunate to have this facility for which we're grateful. This is DanK, my co-host on this show, and we're excited to talk to you about what's going on in the world, in the cannabis world.
That's right, both local and across the state, and even nationally now and then. We want to start off talking about the Attorney General race briefly. It's a little bit late to be talking about it. As we're filming this, it's the day before the end of the election. So tomorrow night we'll know who the Attorney General is, whether we have a good one or a really bad one. So.
Yeah, well, understand, when you see a two-page both-side flyer put out by one of the candidates, you know that one of the candidates has a lot of money, and where he gets that money sure isn't from this state. So one of the things that I've been told today is the fact that maybe Dwight Holton's actually listening and trying to revamp his bold statement about the train wreck of the medical marijuana program and how actually what he really wants to do is to help us make it better. If you believe that, folks, come and see me. I got some bridges all throughout the world that I can sell you real cheap. Okay? Other than that, you know, we have a little notice here that's by a man named Johann Matheson. And he states, Lauren Ruth Wiener's opinion column on legalizing marijuana was well-reasoned and sensible. She adequately revealed the limitations of the medical marijuana program, which I totally agree with. It should be legal, not this crap that we're having to deal with. And she made a compelling argument, Confessions of a Recreational Doper, commentary April 29th. Now, unfortunately, it was beside the point. The war against marijuana was never a public health or safety issue. It isn't even a moral issue. It is a cultural issue. Marijuana is the drug of choice of the great unwashed bottom dwellers who drag down society with their devil-may-care, scofflaw attitudes. Artists, musicians, actors, and creative types spend their nights sucking down vast clouds of marijuana smoke while planning the destruction of the American way of life. That's why we have to prohibit marijuana. It creates disdain for the American political and economic system. Do you believe that?
I think they're being a little sarcastic. He's being
we have to point the sarcasm out to you folks, because we know it's real hard for you to disseminate the difference between truth and fiction.
It's like that piece we had about the 10 good things about the drug war. You remember that?
Okay. So here we go with, but the real reason to not legalize pot is that we can't afford it. AntiPot legislation and enforcement are the cornerstones of our whole incarceration system, which is the largest in the world. Legalizing pot would immediately throw millions of Americans out of work. Judges, lawyers, prosecutors, policemen, security guards, bail bondsmen, court reporters, prison guards, parole officers, prison construction personnel, prison commissary operators, media people, not to mention farmers, harvesters, marketers, and transportation folk. Should we talk about where all those people shop, buy homes, take vacations? The interesting thing about this, folks, is that right now, if you've been watching TV at all, one of the things that you're going to see is this little commercial that comes out and says, oh, we're going to have to release all these terrible criminals, people who rape children and have incest in their homes and are murderers and stuff, because we just don't have enough jail space and we don't have enough money. Well, what have we been pleading for on this show forever is the fact that we would love to sponsor the sheriffs and we'd love to sponsor the schools. But we can't do it because you won't listen to us about the fact that marijuana is not the problem. The problem is the fact that you have people in government who are idiots, who will not listen, who don't care to listen to the truth, and who do not have the balls to stand up and support something that might get them in trouble with their constituents, even though it may help in the long run. So if you get a chance, check out that commercial, because it definitely tells you all the bad people that they're going to let out while they keep potheads in prison.
So legalizing marijuana would not only suddenly throw those millions of people out of work, it would also immediately throw millions of criminals onto the streets looking for employment. This would put a serious wrench into the economy from which it might take years to recover.
Hey.
It could also provide a serious crunch in the international arms trade, another business in which we are the world's largest player. Much of the world's terrorist arms are purchased with money acquired through drug trade profits maintained artificially high by the drugs illegality. Legalizing drugs would tear the pocketbook out of those organizations and provide a crimp in arms purchasing, which would directly affect the American economy. Much of our foreign aid is determined by keeping those regional conflicts alive. It's like my license plate that says, fight terrorism, grow your own weed.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Fight terrorism. Sure, legalizing the pot might get the hippies off our back, but the dismantling of the industries built around criminalization could send the country into a tailspin that would hark back into the 30s. Don't forget, if America were to legalize pot, the rest of the world would follow suit, only exacerbating the problems. It would plunge the entire world into economic chaos. The bottom line, we simply can't afford to legalize marijuana. It's a pipe dream. That was written by this gentleman out of Portland. So.
Right. You know, folks, understand, one of the things Dan was saying there is, likewise, the great majority of guns used by the Mexican cartels are made in America. What would happen if they could no longer buy those guns? It's our industries that would take the hit. And that's what we're trying to say with this piece right here, is the fact that because of how convoluted everything is right now, that if you really made pot legal and made drugs in the world legal, that the people who've been making all the money and stuff from it, including our own government, because understand, our government's a bully. You know, I mean, they bully us, they bully the states into, oh, let us in so we can arrest your people. You know, if you don't, we're not going to pay for your potholes, we're not going to pay for your trees, we're not going to pay for your school, we're not going to pay for anything, because if you're not doing what we want, we're not going to pay you. Now, that used to be called blackmail, but anymore it's just called the federal government exercising its rights to control the states. And for me, I've never agreed with that. I really wonder why our Attorney General is asleep in the process, because he's not doing what the people of the state said, which is to get us marijuana. Hopefully, someday we're going to get an Attorney General in there who's going to care more about the patients than they are about the federal government patting them on the back, and we might be able to take care of our people.
Yes, our Attorney General won his election. He was elected to office, and he said that he had medical problems and he wasn't going to run for re-election. Okay. Well, then he turns around a few weeks later, and lo and behold, he's going to quit his job early and go to work for Reed College. He's going to be the president of Reed College. So he's too sick to run for office again, but he's well enough to leave early and not fulfill his term that he agreed to fill. So he's a quitter. Let's face it, our AG is a quitter. Goodbye. Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. But we hope we have a decent one coming in. That remains to be seen.
And then we sit there and have to deal with this little sleight of hand of, oh, I'm a Republican and I work for the feds, but you know what? I'm going to be a Democrat for a little while so I can make sure that all of you independents don't get to vote for me because you didn't pay attention soon enough. And now all I need are a certain number of people in order to vote for me, and I'm in. And I don't even have to run in the general election. Think about that, folks, how sly this dog is, that he's got this worked out like that.
Yeah, and Gene Weekly right there helping him.
The Eugene Weekly was such a disappointment to me.
Yeah.
I mean, understand, when I was having a problem getting them to listen to me, I asked them if they'd send out a reporter so we could sit down and talk and create a story that we could talk about that would be different than the status quo, which is, oh, we're so fortunate to have medical marijuana, so we really shouldn't rock the boat. We rock the boat, we might lose it, and then here we are facing an attorney general who wants to take it from us in the first place. So,
yeah, did you read the last issue of the weekly?
I did.
I think it was under Slant. They had a little thing about, and they said that they said something to the effect that, well, he said that he was going to improve the medical marijuana. Remember, he said that he's going to help. He's going to improve the medical marijuana program. Oh, well, of course. If he said that, then we're okay, and he's a good guy.
It's really interesting how you can say that over here and then turn around and say, it's a train wreck. We have to get rid of it. It's terrible. Oh, my God. And so, what are you going to do? You know, when you got him speaking out of both sides of his mouth and people only listen to one of the two sides, then they think that they're doing a good thing.
So here they got a case that Eugene Weekly followed the registered guard just right behind on their heels and just, yeah, Holton, let's endorse him. Yeah, he'll do great.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it goes, I'll tell you, because right now, for me, what was really sad is as an independent, I mean, I get to vote for nobody in this, the whole thing. You know, I mean, I have people that I really support. Pete Sorensen, I support him. You know, Kitty Piercy, you know, Kitty, you really got to start talking to me. When I walk down the street, you really can't walk to the other side of the street anymore if you expect to get my vote. Of course, guess what? Because I didn't make myself a Democrat, I didn't get to vote for you anyway yet. And I guess as an independent, I'm still going to have to make my choice. Should be interesting. I think I did that, but if I did, I still got to get the paperwork in because I had some friends I counted on to get my paperwork in order to make me a Democrat, and that didn't happen. So I didn't turn it in myself. I trusted another friend, so we'll see how that goes. Trusting friends is a very iffy situation. You know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But, you know, right now in Eugene, I know that the sheriffs could really use our help, and we would really love to help the sheriffs. But we can't do it if we're behind bars, and we can't do it if they landlock everything we're trying to do. Oh, it can only be 12 inches high, it can only be 12 inches wide. And then all of a sudden get hit with mites. Oh, geez, now I'm done. I got to start all over again. And what happens to the patient? Because nobody listens, we have no backup. And the backup could simply be arresting the herb that people have that they've grown illegally and getting it to us so we can run it through whatever kind of agency we have.
Yeah, some of these convoluted court cases that people got into trouble with the medical marijuana law. It's just infuriating.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're going to take a break here. We got to take a break. We don't overdo ourselves. We'll be right back with some more info, so stay tuned.
And now, a message from the American Marijuana Growers Association.
Hi, I'm a farmer, and I work hard every day to grow high-quality marijuana, the biggest cash crop in these United States. I'd like to thank you for your support of U.S. marijuana policy. Because marijuana is illegal, I don't have to pay taxes. Even better, prohibition leads to artificially inflated prices, which means a better quality of life for me and my family, as long as I don't get caught. Just as importantly, your tax dollars support thousands of U.S. agents who work tirelessly to keep low-grade, foreign marijuana out of our country. So thank you, America. And remember, whether you're nauseated from chemotherapy or just in the mood for a nice cool buzz, choose the best pot in the world, American Homegrown.
All right, we're back again, and friend Reverend Will, you got DanK here, and we've got a great story out from back east.
Got me smiling already.
Yeah, this is really the Virginia cops claim superhuman marijuana sniffing abilities. This is out of Chesapeake Bay, Virginia. Police officers in Chesapeake Chesapeake, there I said it, Virginia, have developed the ability to smell marijuana in cars as they cruise down the highway. Even when the police have their windows up, or at least according to the report in the Norfolk, Virginia pilot last week, that's what they are claiming. We drive our patrol car with the vents on, pulling air from the outside in directly into our faces, Officer Barrett Ring said late last year in court during a preliminary hearing. According to a transcript of the proceedings, commonly we'll be behind vehicles that somebody in the vehicle is smoking marijuana, and we can smell it clear as day. Smelling the odor of marijuana would create probable cause to stop and search a vehicle. Ring said police would follow the car until there were no other cars in the area, so they could make sure it was indeed the vehicle from which the odor was emanating. Defense attorneys and civil libertarians are pronouncing themselves mind-boggled by the claim. The idea that police can drive behind a car and smell marijuana is preposterous, said Assistant Public Defender Matthew Taylor. What do we need drug dogs for if police can drive behind cars and smell marijuana? The police were claiming powers verging on the supernatural, he said. It stretches the imagination that the police can drive down the road and hone in on a car, agreed U of O Virginia Executive Director Kent Willis. Willis said the traffic stops based solely on an officer's sniffing from a police car will draw legal challenges. Experts will have to tangle over this and decide, he predicted. So great, so now a bunch of attorneys will make more money over this, arguing about it. And the thing of it is I've been told by an attorney that when a cop says he smells something, how are you going to fight that? Because he says he smells it, and you can't counteract, and you can't fight it. And so it's, and the same thing with drug sniffing dogs. You know, it's been proven that the handlers can actually make a dog hit. They can make a dog react just by how they talk to the dog, and make him hit and show a false positive. And you know, it's just.
Well, to me, you know, if the ACLU is mind-boggled along with other people by this kind of statement by the police, how come nobody's mind-boggled by the fact that the federal government says that they don't have any patience when we know that they do? How can they, you know, not have mind-boggling effects when we're sitting here talking about how it cures people of different illnesses and stuff? I mean, understand, what hurts me the most is the cancer people who go out there and bust butts creating all this money so that they can do this research to cure cancer, because most of them have family members who have either died from it or who have recovered from it, and they're afraid that they may relapse. And so here we are with a solution, and we say marijuana is a solution. We're not saying it's the only solution. But nobody's investigating this. I mean, we've actually had people in Canada who have been chased out of the country by the police there, Rick Simpson, when he is in his doctor's office and trying to talk to him about the fact that he has been cured of marijuana and has people around him who have used his way of doing it and have been cured. Now, if you're cured, you're cured. Okay? And why these people would chase somebody who has a cure out of the country? I mean, I understand his statement was he felt he was in the twilight zone. Trying to talk to his doctor and having his doctor's receptionist say the doctor's not interested in talking to you. Trying to go to a community building where he has access and they tell him that he can't be there. And then he leaves the country to go get an award because he is what was it, Marijuana Patriot of the Year or something, where he got an award, and he goes over there and then is told that he's not welcome back in his own country. Now, understand, folks, you know, this is the kind of thing that for us, it's very mind-boggling, because when you have solutions like this and you go to your congressman and you try and talk to them about it, I mean, here in Oregon, Floyd Pierzynski, you know, he did a good thing in getting industrial. But is he doing anything to alleviate the problem that we have with the catch-22 of having to have a sample, and you can't get the sample without having the tax stamp, and you can't get the tax stamp without the sample according to the federal government? That's not our fault. We didn't set something up like that that was so lame and unworkable. Yet, is he doing anything to follow through and make sure that the industrial does become a viable element here in this state that we can use to take care of our sheriffs and help our school system? I don't see it happening. So for all of those of you who support Floyd, you might want to get out there and talk to the man, see if he could do something for us, you know, because we'd love to have industrial, but what good is it if you cannot implement it, Floyd? You know, I asked you that before, and I'm asking you it again. I'd really like an answer. You're more than welcome to come on the show and tell us what the problems are with the federal government that you have in trying to get this legitimized. We'd love to hear that. Maybe we could help.
Yeah, it says here that the practice is apparently limited to Chesapeake Police. According to the Virginia Pilot Survey of Local Law Enforcement Agencies, Suffolk County Prosecutor Phillips Ferguson said he hadn't heard of the practice but expected it to catch on.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
So, look for this in your neighborhood. Coming to your neighborhood soon.
Coming to your neighborhood soon.
So, yeah.
More crap.
It's just when you think it can't get any worse. And then, now this is, we're moving away from pot, but this is an interesting thing going on in Florida. Judge rejects Florida state employee drug testing. A federal district court judge in Miami has thrown out Florida Governor Rick Scott's, he's a Republican, surprise, executive order requiring state employees to submit to suspicionless drug tests. The order violates the Fourth Amendment's prescription against unreasonable searches and seizures, the judge ruled. Governor Scott, a former health care executive, issued the order calling for a random drug testing of all state employees in March 2011, but stated in the face of a legal challenge from the ACLU of Florida and the Association of Federal, State, County, Municipal employees, the union representing thousands of state workers. Scott argued that requiring drug tests were akin to statutory requirements that some state workers make financial disclosures, but U.S. District Court Judge Ursula Ungaro wasn't buying it. In her ruling last Wednesday, Ungaro called Scott's reasoning hardly transparent and frankly obscure and said it did not justify violating the Fourth Amendment. He offers no plausible rationale explaining why the fact that a state employee's work product and financial status are publicly accessible leads to the conclusion that the employee's expectation of privacy in his or her bodily function and fluids are then diminished, Ungaro wrote. The government can't order the state to search people's bodily fluids for no reason. The Constitution prohibits that sort of government intrusion, said Howard Simon, executive director of the ACLU of Florida, and the governor can't demand that people surrender their constitutional rights for the privilege of working for the state or receiving some other government benefit. So this has been tried in other states. A bill has been introduced in the Oregon legislature more than once, trying to do the same thing in Oregon. Luckily, it never got to first base, but it's not for lack of trying. So, drug testing, I would like to say the only people that come out ahead on drug testing are the people that own drug testing stock.
Yep, that's true. You know, I remember when we were up at the congressional hearings that were going on there, and we brought it up that how come you're all not jumping up and volunteering to be drug tested, you know? I mean, if you're going to do this to people, how come you're not, you know, in the forefront? You know, I mean, you say that if you have nothing to hide, you should have absolutely no problem with doing drug tests, so either you have something to hide, all of you in the office, or you're the hypocrites that we say you are, that you want everybody else to do what you want, but you're not going to do it yourself.
Which is typical drug testing, because if you check with an employer, I've talked to a lot of people that have gone through drug testing, and I asked them specifically, I said, the person that physically told you, hey, you had to go take a drug test, do they have to take a drug test? And the answer is almost always no. Very, very rarely have I ever heard the answer is yes. So what's wrong with this picture, you know? And it's the same thing with law enforcement. Being an ex-truck driver, they came out with drug testing. Oh yeah, well, it's public safety. Public safety, we got to trust the truck drivers for drugs. Okay, well, how about law enforcement? Well, no, we don't test them.
Unless there's an incident.
Yeah, probable cause. But as far as standard drug testing, random, like they do for drivers, no. No, but so the people, again, the people are telling one group of people that they have to take a drug test don't have to take it, the same thing themselves. So what's wrong with this picture?
Right. Years ago, I went through this. As a matter of fact, I had a friend of mine who was a policeman who quit the police force because he couldn't deal with the hypocrisy of the process. You know, and to me, I wish there was more of that, actually, and although it would make me sad because he was an excellent cop. And that's one of the things that people don't understand. I mean, I have sheriffs that come to my door all the time. And I personally have absolutely no problem with them being there. I honor them for doing their job. I thank them for doing their job. And I say that I would like to help you more, but my hands are tied because in this process, when we're trying to create a scenario where we can have money come from us that we have control of, then we can control it and have it go to the sheriff's department and to the school system, which didn't happen when they took the $1 million away from us and they put it in the general fund, and then there's no accountability. That's the way the government works, folks, is they want you to be accountable for everything you do, while they say, I'm the government and I don't have to do this. So our process is to demand that the government gets accountable, to show that we don't have a problem with helping in the process of having love to have a policeman that comes to my house, sits on my deck and has a cup of tea or coffee with me and talks about what's going on in the neighborhood and wants to know what's happening. Hopefully, someday, we'll all have that, folks, because right now, as with everything else, we're running out of time. So,
that's right. So Governor Scott goes on to say is not doing well with his drug testing campaign. A law he backed requiring drug tests for people seeking welfare has been temporarily blocked by a federal district court judge in Orlando, who has indicated she will likely find the measure also unconstitutional. So,
till next time.
That's right. So thanks for being here, and stay tuned for future shows, and never consent to a search.
And if you still have your ballot, get it in there before you see us next time.
Yeah, right. We're gone. Thank you.
We're gone.